Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe. And I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I hope that everybody stays warm, stays well, and can make it through these times. And today, in the last couple of days, and watching the news and doing what I do, you know, and so it's 1:11 a.m. in the morning time here on East Coast on February the 24th, 2021. And as many of you probably have heard, and I'm going to use the mouse in the house is my reference to who declared now that the Muppets are somehow distasteful and not politically correct. And I'm thinking to myself, as a puppeteer and a storyteller, and have been a fan of the Muppets. I was a fan of Jim Henson back before he even came up with the Muppet idea. And, he was the, for those of us old enough back in the days of black and white, there was Farfel, I think was his name, and it was Nestle's. Nestles, Nestle's makes the very best chocolate. And Farfel was his little dog anyway. And he had another little character who I think later on became Ralph with the Muppets. So, but anyway, I'm reading through the news and stuff today, and I'm looking and I'm thinking to myself, you have got to be kidding. Eighth resident, hi, how are you? It's Elderberry, how are you? What'd you do? Change your name? Anyway, I love you all, I do. And I'm thinking to myself now, in my times of growing up in the, late 60s, I'm, of course, in high school, but, growing up and seeing how the Muppets came out of PBS, how Morgan Freeman started on the electric company, and, I remember those things and the amount of diversity that those people generated with the Muppet Show. Hey, Travis, how are you? And the diversity. I mean, you got a frog and Miss Piggy, okay? And you got Gonzo. We still don't know what Gonzo is, right? But the idea, though, that Jim Henson came up with these critters, I'll just refer them to. They're not necessarily creatures, but some of them were. He's got a creature factory. And as a puppeteer, I followed that after, especially after Jim died, how things were going to progress. And his son has taken over the Henson Foundation. And they do great work within the arts. They provide grants for people who wish to learn puppetry. And I know because I applied one year, about 20 years ago. And, because what a hoot it would be to go and be able to hang out where they make all the critters that Jim Henson and the Henson Foundation does through the critter factory and so forth. And anyway, I'm thinking to myself, so here's someone who is passed away now, Jim, but his family and all those people, Frank Oz and all those folks, and how they work together, the diversity within the puppeteers, the diversity of the puppets themselves, the diversity of the characters that they portrayed. I mean, you're going to pick on the Snuffleupagus? Are you serious? You know, seriously, you're going to pick on Snuffleupagus? You know, I mean, all right. So where's the diversity? How is somehow, the Muppet Show and them to be declared somehow at risk for teaching people or entertaining folks or being some kind of, like, we know they're puppets, but the people, the puppeteers that bring them to life, and the stories and the storylines and all of the things that go with that, which is very difficult. And as a puppeteer, I'm and work and having worked on stage with other people, it's a very, fine art, and not everybody's cut out to be a puppeteer. And so it's amazing for me to have watched over my many years as a person, watching Howdy Doody. What are they going to pick on Howdy Doody next? But of course, the mouse in the house doesn't own Howdy Doody. So, hey, Elderberry, Travis. Anyway, so I was just like, so in reading the headlines and then listening in to some of what these folks are saying. And one of the clips they showed was Steve Martin. Now, anybody who knows anything about Steve Martin knows that he mocks and he's satirical. So he does this little thing with his banjo and he's supposedly mocking Chinese. There are a lot of artists and comedians who've done that. And there are a lot of this. So, what? If I talk like this and, you say, well, I'm Chinese, or them stupid Americans, how crazy are they? They think Muppet Show is bad. Okay, now I'm bad imitation, right? But to the point, oh, Mr. Dave's picking on the Chinese. No, I'm imitating them. No. But so they show this clip with Steve Martin, and anybody with a lick of sense know he's a jokester. He's just kidding. It's a kid show. What he's trying to badmouth Chinese by his. Oh my God. So I'm thinking to myself, have I woken up in a parallel universe? Where Superman is this other guy. Wait a minute. So they come up with all these fantastical things like the Mandalorian and all these things, and guess what they're using in one of their no, is that them? Hey, Michelle, how are you? Is it the mouse in the house that owns the Mandalorian thing? Anyway, if so, the little guy that they use as the young Yoda, okay, is a feature from, guess where? The Henson Foundation. Okay. So from the creature thingies, hence the voice of Yoda was Frank Oz, from the Muppet Show. So it's like, so they want to say, well, the Muppets are bad, but are they shooting themselves in the foot here? Like, if I were the folks at the Henson Foundation, I'd be going, you want us to make another what? Nope, sorry. And we can pull because anyway, Frank Oz can say, screw you, I'm going home. I'm not doing Yoda no more, But of course, they were paid to do what they do, so they can't, the mouse in the house owns all the rights. But the idea that, let's go back to the diversity. So here's a frog and Miss Piggy. There's Kermit and Miss Piggy sitting on a log, singing songs, holding hands, and Miss Piggy, gonna whop him one in the head, but that's not enough diversity in today's times. They want to criticize how some of the 30 year old versions of stuff that we did 30 years ago or longer, 40 maybe even. You're going to criticize what was done 40 years ago as not appropriate for today. All right, so then just pull those episodes you don't like. But to criticize the whole group and the 40 plus years, you know, that the Muppets and the influence of the puppetry arts, because y'all have no idea, unless you have been involved with puppetry very much. The Henson Foundation is really has been a key point in a lot of people continuing the art of puppetry, where in Mexico and in Europe and places, they have theaters that are dedicated to marionette puppet uh, stories and theaters. I mean, it's amazing. And here, it's just, yeah, you know. So the rest of the world is laughing at Americans. They're making all kinds of jokes about us, okay? Because, I can just hear them now going, crazy Americans. They think, Kermit the Frog is bad. Oh, my goodness, what? Oh, Kermit and Miss Piggy, the two of the most diverse characters in the world, a frog and a pig. Okay. Sorry, Miss Piggy, but you are. And, that somehow that doesn't help children to understand, you know, that it's okay to be green. I mean, so I'm personally, I think this might come around and bite them in the katukas really hard because there are a lot of people, millions of people with Mulan. They have a lot of Mulan. And there's a lot of things that people are questioning and scratching their head about and so forth, and that they're pandering to certain people and blah, blah, blah. Listen here. If the mouse in the house don't have enough Mulan to keep themselves afloat in these dire straits. Now I know there are people not going to the parks and all, but they ought to have enough cash on hand and reserves to like last them into damn near the next century because of all the other products and things and stuff. So, but the idea though that they would pick on this group and say, sorry, you people aren't acceptable anymore. What you have said is not acceptable anymore. All the impact and all of the teachers, all of the children, and we're sorry, but you're offensive to us now. What? I don't know where this is headed, but I believe because of my last 12 minutes of discussing this, there are people around the world. I'm just kind of speaking what I think other people are going to be, they're thinking. I think I'm just tapping into the cosmic and on this one because they won't let me shut up until I did this video, Michelle. How you doing? Chloe, hi, how are you? Cherry, hi, how are you? Julianne, Elderberry. Yeah, don't you know, I'm tired of it too. That's sort of why I'm not mentioning any names. The mouse in the house, you should know who I'm talking about. Because, I think it's obvious that the folks who did it, well, it's all over the news, but I'm not going to repeat their name. And God forbid, I think, Walt might have been a little crazy in his day and whatever they say about him and blah, 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 but he was a visionary. And I remember I had a clipping of when he was over in Orlando and broke ground for the property over there around Orlando, and how his sneaky investments got him that big piece of property. But anyway, um, look what it's done for the state of Florida. But on the other side of the coin, though, you know, um, they wouldn't let Dumbo. They remastered Dumbo, which is one of my most favorite of their old time movies. And the little mouse with the feather going, Dumbo, it's not the feather. Open your ears, Dumbo. But anyway, so but the idea though that because there were black crows sitting on a wire, when how did well, I seen a horse fly and I ain't seen a house fly. But I believe anything when I see an elephant fly, and it's the crows. They're crows, okay? They're magpies. Magpies were used in a lot of cartoons back in the day. But no, because it represents, to who? They're magpies. Well, no, those represent black people. Well, if you didn't tell me that they represented black people, I would have just thought they were 3 or 4 magpies on a wire singing. Okay. Now, because their tone of voice suggests that they were black. Um, so, you say, well, we want diversity in cartoons. Well, would you have what? How else? Well, but they're crows. But they're hilarious. They're singing. They're talking to each other. They're jiving. Oh, but that's offensive. Well, how else would you show black folk in a cartoon with elephants and mice and huh? In a way, that's diversity. Oh no, we can't show Dumbo now. We can't show the remastered Dumbo. It's going to be offensive to all the black people. How long has Dumbo been on the market? The movie, somewhere there, I might have a copy of it. It might be on VHS, but so it's been on the market all these years, but because you've remastered it and because the new verbiage now within society is, well, we're not going to re-release Dumbo because they're crows sitting on a wire and they sound like black people and folks might be offended. It's a 70-year-old movie, for God's sakes, that's been remastered. What are you going to do? Tint them or something? Are you going to not make them black? You're going to change the voices of the... And how far... I turn my hat this way because it's just damn silly what some of these folks are thinking right now. And I'm thinking, these folks are crazy. Wait a minute. So here's Kermit and Miss Piggy holding hands. In this time of there are 51 different genders to choose from. It's no longer breastfeeding, it's chest feeding. We can't discuss that I might be a grandfather or a grandmother, depending on whether or not I choose. Well, my hair is long. Maybe I'll be a woman this week. I'm sure that was offensive to somebody out there, but you can't take a joke. I mean, seriously, you can't take a joke. People have been laughing about me and to me, and for years. It's like the first thing you should do is be able to laugh at yourself, not be so down and sarcastic that you beat yourself up. But sometimes a little self-flagellation, publicly, is rewarding. You get people. He'll talk about himself. Shit, and dang, he's got some pretty funny stories about some of that crap he's been doing. And wow, I wouldn't have done what that crazy fool would have done. So the mouse in the house. What do you think they're going to be up to next? They're promoting all these other things. There's all these different countries, the UK, we can't talk about this. They want to change the language for who? How many people are like really into like, well, there might be a couple of million people out there. Okay. A couple of million people. Okay. Versus 350 million of us are going, what's this all about, Alfie? And my movie references. Did you pick that one up there? Oh, wait, Michelle is in the shower. She'll have to come back at me. Hey, Jody. Let me put my glasses on for a minute. I kind of sort of made my point, but, I got a few other little comments, tucked away in there. I'm a poo when it comes to honey. Yeah, they're going to pick on Winnie the Pooh next or Tigger, I mean, well, I identify as all races and all genders too. Laughing at yourself is just another form of self-disrespect. No, I'm joking. LOL, and is equivalent to slapping yourself. I'm joking. Hi, thank you, Jody. Yeah, that's self-flagellation. And I mean in the upper torso now, y'all. But anyway, see. Hi, Miss Delaney. How are you? It's good to see you as always. Miss Delaney, can I ask you a question? Did you ever see the movie Dumbo? And do you know the reference that I'm speaking of, which about the crows on the wire? Are you offended by any by the crows because they quote represent black people, or is that offensive? I always thought that was one of the funniest sections of the whole movie, watching them crows talking about that elephant, how to get up in that tree or whatever. So thank you. So if you just got here, Disney pulled the re-release of Dumbo being remastered because people would be offended by the crows on the wire. And that's, you got a good, to me, you my sister, and you got a good logical head on your shoulders. And there are a lot of other people that I know are going, so they're black crows, big deal. They like, it was funny. They sang the harmony. I mean, but anyway. So, and the idea that they're going to pull the Muppets. I mean, I think people who grew up with the Snuffleupagus should get up in arms about their Snuffleupagus, and that somehow the Snuffleupagus must represent some kind of harm to humanity, that we cannot see the racial divide that Snuffleupagus is bringing to the universe. I'm kidding, of course. My satire. Well, somebody might go, what? He's being serious about this shit, ain't he? Well, I'm being serious about being satirical. But at the same point, they're stupid. They're a rock blues band called the Black Crowes. Right. Thank you very much. Yeah, the Jim Crow law. But you see, I love those old cartoons. And Miss Delaney, she probably grew up on some of them too. Low-hanging fruit. Very low, right, Moss Man? But to think that people sitting around a desk in a high muckety muck corp is going, oh, now we've done the demographics on this. Who's the demographic? Who are the people in the other room that you're asking to ask it? Is it AOC kind of thing? I mean, are there clones of her sitting in the room and she's the test model for what you're thinking? Or so just to piss the mouse in the house off, that mouse has turned into a rat. How about that one? Mm-hmm. There's a bad joke that I won't say right now, but there's a bad joke that has to do with Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and, and Goofy. So, but anyway, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And I woke. I took a nap and had done some things. Was pretty busy today. Had a really nice visit with some friends that were in the neighborhood, and they volunteered to come by and help me out this coming Friday, and help me do some house cleaning and throwing stuff away. And two ladies that I've known for quite a while, and they like, Dave, we want to come over and help you. Me and Mandy gonna come over, and we're gonna help you throw some stuff away and do a little bit of cleaning. And I showed them around the house, and Miss Ron was really really proud at what I had done and all the cleaning and everything. She's like, I can really tell you've been working. So it's like, but I understand that, especially at my age, things have gotten let go so long here. But and I said, if I could if one good day of a couple hours of some people helping me clean some things and get the cobwebs down, there's too many cobwebs, and just kind of get things back to where I can maintain it again, it would be a whole lot better for me and my psyche and all this other stuff. So, and they've been wanting to help me, and Mandy's come and helped me before, so they'll be here this Friday to run me ragged. So, which is a good thing. But anyway, that's just a little tidbit update there. But Tom and Jerry had a black woman as Tom's owner. Exactly. And what do you think about Aunt Jemima? The thing about Aunt Jemima. Oh my God, Aunt Jemima. And there was a story that I was listening to, and it was like, there was this guy that met this black woman whenever back in the day, and there was this product, and she agreed, and her and her family were set for life, and he used her personification, if you will. And I mean, when I was growing up, nobody thought that Aunt Jemima was like some blackie thing. I mean, from back in the day, you had to understand what the lingo was. But some of the words were used, like jigaboo and stuff like that. To me now, that was a really derogatory. But it was better than saying the N word, that folks didn't want to do. So they came up with little, different areas had different wordings about, and they weren't talking about black people. They were talking about white trash folk in the black community. Okay. So, but anyway, but with listening to that, nobody ever thought that she was a mammy, and it was Aunt Jemima. She was like one of the it showed respect, and anyway. Oh, Aunt Jemima, she can't have that thing anymore. Yeah, Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima making brunch, rice and pancakes. That's funny, you see. But that was back in I don't know when Aunt Jemima first came out, but Lord have mercy, she'd been out there a long time. And so how can this be unity is what I'm saying, because the folks I talk to, they all go, this is stupid. I never thought anything about, Aunt Jemima being on a, or the Muppets or the Crows or any of the other things. I mean, if we look at Mickey Mouse, what color is he? Go back to the early Mickeys with Steamboat Mickey and all that kind of stuff, he's black. But well, wait a minute now. We can't watch any of the. Everybody should be pissed off at Disney because Mickey's black, okay? But they give him this silly thing. So has Walt and all of them been pulling this trick on? Well, he's got a white voice, and all the characters. But But is he actually a black character? Well, he's a mouse. Well, mice aren't black. Mice are brown, or white. Sorry, but So what was they doing? So have they been mimicking black folks all this time? Has it been a big joke all along? You know, um, what? Oh, but a green frog and Miss Piggy. I'm sorry, that's distasteful. you know. Well, what about the ducks? Scrooge McDuck. And the fact that Donald talked with a had a speech impediment. So they making fun of so all this time Donald Duck and all those cartoons were making fun of handicapped people because Donald talks with a has a speech impediment. I'm Come on. And Goofy, they named the guy Goofy because he acts goofy. Now, come on, is that a stereotype or what? You know, um, so where are they going to stop with this? Are they going to start picking on themselves? They're going to pick on other people. So, but where does the line get drawn? You know, well, and I'm sorry. What was it? Cinderella in this remake with a black girl and with a black theme. And I'm thinking to myself, no offense, but it's Cinderella that took place in medieval times when there wasn't a lot of black folks who were princesses and princes. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't fit the net. Well, we got to appeal to the other side. We have, everything now is with there's either a woman, no offense to women, but you look at main characters nowadays, and it's always the woman who's the bad guy, and it's always the man who's the weak one. And oh, let me hide behind you. You're the kung fu expert. I don't have an issue with that. But if you think about it, though, they're degendering men. Men aren't good enough. The women are coming up, and they're the ones who are the kung fu experts now. They're the ones who are the ninjas. They're the ones who are the Nikitas and the, pulling the weapons out. And so wait a minute. They're changing the narrative of who the hero is. I'm sorry. It has been male dominated for a lot of years. I understand that. But are you going to turn Roy Rogers into Dale Evans? you know, is, I'm sorry, but I grew up with Hi-Yo Silver, um, who is that masked man? Are they going to put a mask on a woman now and redo, the Lone Ranger? But wait a minute, he's got a mask on. Yeah, he was after bad people. Yeah, but he had a black mask. Oh no, what are they going to, how far is this going to go? Okay, now what about Mr. Ed? He talks to a horse. Well, we can't watch Mr. Ed anymore, because, there were discrepancies about the things that he talked about animals. Oh, now the animal rights people are going to get in there. Well, they shouldn't have done that to Mr. Ed. And, Wilbur, come on. Where are they going to go with this? And I'm thinking to myself, I grew up in the days of Archie Bunker. And people thought to themselves, Archie, you dingbat, and the black folks like to watch Archie, if not as much as more, because of the stereotype of the white people. Okay, laughing at the stereotypical white people. Well, then there was JJ. Now, and then there was moving on up. So there was two sides of the black condition, along with Archie Bunker. That's what we grew up with. So we talk about diversity, but now people say, well, we don't want to watch Archie Bunker. He was so rude and crude, but that's how people were back then, and you say, well, Archie Bunker could have been called or considered a racist. How many true Archie Bunkers do we have today? How many TV shows or programs are like Archie Bunker was back in my day? And how cutting edge it was. And it was there for a purpose for people to look at and go, oh, holy crap. I know an Archie Bunker, you know. In fact, I did know an Archie Bunker. Oh my God, it was horrible. It was the Jews, it was the faggots, it was oh my God, it was horrible. But he was Archie Bunker. So now an old video of the Muppet Show with Steve Martin making a joke about Hong Dong, Wong Dong, something like that. And now it's offensive 45 years later to the Chinese. Please. Have I been transported to another dimension? Superman ain't Superman anymore. I mean, have we tripped the light fantastic into the bizarro world? I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and go, what's next? I mean, I there's a part of me that wants to be really pissed off, but it's like I think that the people around the world are going, the mouse did what? Are you kidding me? People have their own sense about them. And I'm hoping and considering and praying that people will wake up to some of this and go, no, sorry. The mouse fired that lady who was on the Mandalorian because of her political views. But if you think about what they've actually done, aren't these sort of draconian things that they're doing? I mean, Dumbo the elephant, the Muppets, Kermit and Miss Piggy. I mean, if ever there's been an interspecies, interracial, relationship between a pig and a frog, but their moral high ground has somehow been tainted by a little bit of satire that somebody somewhere doesn't like. And I say, release Dumbo. Hey, Michelle, it is totally a bizarro world. Exactly, Jody. I agree with you. The spirits are telling me that this feminization of men is a form of punishment. I don't doubt it. The movie The Jerk with Steve Martin. I am not black, right? Especially with this special something. Anyway, that was a funny movie. Travis says it's very, very simple. Simply state, I identify as all genders and all races. Yep. Lemon biscotti is the flavor of the day. Oh, really? Speaking of which, we missed the 20, didn't we? But anyway, I woke up in the middle of the night and, trying to divulge and cogitate on some things and planning on what to do with my friends get here Friday and that kind of thing. And me and Duggar we went to the store and did a couple of things. My truck ran well enough to get us to the store and back. Thank you, Jesus. And I mean that heartily. But I think to myself, when I was a young man, we saw certain things and whatever. But never ever in my wildest dreams could you have convinced me that at some point there would be an organization that considered the Muppets to be distasteful or off color, or I I would have said you're kidding. No, in the near, in the future the Muppets will be banned. What? Yeah, in the future, those, Miss Piggy and Kermit, they're gonna, uh, what? Yeah, 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 and and this and that, and did you know that what? There are going to be 51 different choices, you know, for gender. What happened to two? You either got one or you don't. And there are those rare instances where there are both. But but wait a minute. How do you get two, possibly three, as a hermaphrodite? Um, genders. How do you turn that into 51? That's like a Heinz 51 sauce. Wait a minute. So you got to stop and wonder. And some of the wording and the naming, these people must be from a different planet. These people have got to be from outer space. These people must be from another dimension because, oh my God. Yeah, Michelle, I know I got this. Travis says, let me restate myself. I identify as all races, all races. Now, here's the honest to God, let's talk about this kind of thing. In that those people who have had their, histories done, the DNA thing, and they go back through their history and they find out that, wait a minute, there's people that, have had a black relative somewhere in history. Or, like I've stated before, a lot of folks down here in the South, there's a lot of Cherokee and Seminole and mixed in with a lot of these folk down here. And, it's not uncommon. Yeah, exactly. 2 plus 2 equals 5. I never could figure that one out. I was watching a cartoon, and because cartoons have more meaning in them than anything, um, that they were saying that, you know, um, I think it might have been the cartoon called "Forget About It," where these mobsters end up in Regina, Canada. So the little girl, she's talking about, okay, pops, if I'm going to shake down these kids at school. I've got these candies, see, that I'm selling. And so she can't add in school, but she knows right off their head what a bookie's making and what percentage and the take of that is. And he's like, but that's arithmetic. And she goes, what? He goes, yeah, that's arithmetic. You're doing arithmetic in your head. So she could do all these complex equations on how much money she's going to make on selling candy at school and how she can shake down some of these other kids and what the take's going to be and percentages and the professor was like, but that's math. So in the Carney business, we learned how to do quick adding. Uh, where this computer just goes nuts so sometimes. But we could do adding in our head when we had, we got 15 people in line surrounded, the cookhouse, and you can't be stopping and writing down how much stuff is. You're adding, okay, corn dogs are 75, and you got three of them. Two is $1.50. Okay, so 50 cents more plus the quarter is so you're making how many boxes of popcorn? $1, that's $3 and $2 and you counted this up in your head, and they go, oh, wait a minute, Lord, let me write this. No, $1, $2, $3, and plus this, plus that. Here's your change, and okay, but folks, once you got used to it, especially after many years in the carny business, you didn't even have to stop to think about how much it was, because you knew that's that, and added this up as that's how much, and give me 20, here's your change, So, but 2 boxes of popcorn and 2 boxes of popcorn was still $4. To your point, Jody, you know, 4 boxes of popcorn at $1 a piece was still $4. You know, and had to give them change from a 5 maybe, but if the equation were 2 plus 2 equals 5 minus 1, if the equation went further. But anyway, I digress. Ooh, that was a good one. I bet it does go crazy with someone like me saying, "No, Travis, you just joined the. You've heard me long enough. You fit right in." And welcome at 1:56 a.m. in the morning time on 2/24/2021. But anyway, yeah, as a carny, I personally still have a huge popcorn machine. I mean, it's as big as the ones you see when you go to a theater. It's a big machine. And I also have I was going to say a snow cone, but no, cotton candy machine. And, had went on the road there for a while back in the mid 20s, 2005, 6. And then the market crashed on all that business. So, all the things that I thought that I'd be able to retire doing, like I thought I could retire and be on radio. Now everything's computerized. I thought that I would retire and go work the summers on a carny with a little joint like I have. No, carny business is out. All the things that I thought of growing up for, through 40 years at least, and going, well, when I get older, like I know these other older people, some old jocks who work the late shift or night shift or something, or weekends, to still be doing radio and make a little extra money and give somebody else a break, which is what I used to do in the past. I'd fill in for folks if they needed the day off. They'd just call me up and I'd go in and work the shift for them. But anyway, and somewhere I still have my license to be on air. But anyway, but this idea though, that what these folks are up to, I'm just wondering. I never would have dreamed it would have been the Muppets, but as I have been contemplating this for the last day or so about this particular one, I'm going, what are they trying to achieve? I mean, seriously, by putting the word out about the Muppets, what do they think they're going to achieve with that? I mean, if most people really don't think the crows in Dumbo are that big a deal, unless you bring it out to, but that represents black people. They're crows. They're sitting on a wire. And okay, I know a lot of other cartoons, and some of them that the Mouse Company did back in the day that showed blacks as being slovenly and all that. So they got a lot of dirt in their history too. So why are they picking on the Muppets? We should delve into this in the future as to, okay, so an old episode or two with Steve Martin or somebody making fun of something. Um, you don't think a bunch of Americans sit around and like listen to? I listen to it sometimes when watching anime or something, and I go, "Oh, that's what it sounds like to me." So, but if I say that because I was watching this anime, but that's what I heard in my head. Oh, you're making fun of the Chinese. No, that's how it sounded to me. I'm saying I don't understand it. I'm not trying to criticize, but oh my God. So, and back in the day, it was like rots or ruck, right? What? They can't pronounce the, uh, they can't pronounce the L. So it's rots, rots of rock, right? Lots of rock. And so, I mean, all right, let's look at McHale's Navy and the little Japanese guy, Toshi or whatever is, the cook that they hired and they kept around, right? But he couldn't, lots of rock. Oh my God. So now any old things of McHale's Navy, um, seriously? I mean, they're going to pick on Gilligan's Island next. You watch. Something's going to be wrong. They weren't diverse enough with Gilligan's Island. So then folks, um, Ginger and Marianne were actually a couple and but they wouldn't, oh my God. So, but usually there's a motive. So with the actress that they canned, she said something that provoked it. But now, what or who or whom or them or whatever provoked them same folk to look at the Muppets and say, they're out of here? I mean, seriously, did the folks at the Henson Foundation say or do something for them folks to it get back and there be some kind of, you hear what I'm saying? Because normally, would any of us ever thought that the Muppets would be like the bad guys ever? So, I mean, I just keep thinking of Snuffleupagus and going, oh my God, you got to be kidding. So, personally, I think there's something else behind it. What it is, don't know. I'm slightly deaf though, so knock hard. Yeah, I'm kind of sort of that same way, Travis. But anyway, so personally, I think we should at least talk it up and tell folks how we actually feel that that was really stupid, and whether or not we cancel our subscriptions to their thing, or ever go to their park or ever watch another, that's another story, boycott. But we at least should speak up and go, you people are nuts. Who are you? What planet are you from? Y'all ain't from around here, are you? As we say down here in the South. Hey, Joyce, how are you? Eardrums, Roach. Oh, ow, Travis. I have issues with my eardrums too, though, not like you. I have issues. I used to try to scuba dive and did a lot of snorkeling and that kind of thing growing up. Had my own tank and regulator, the whole 9 yards, but I couldn't get past 10 feet. I couldn't equalize the pressure in my head. And at 11 feet, I'm like screaming in pain from my ears. So I never could learn how to equalize the pressure going down. So, and that's always been the case. Going up mountains, I could yawn and pop my ears, but under pressure in the water, 15 feet was about as far as I could dive. But anyway, good evening, good morning to you, Joyce. It's early morning here. It's 2:04 a.m. in the Eastern Standard Time, And get ready, y'all, to spring forward. Now, as many of you know, I do not set my clocks forward. It's just a personal thing. And I know everybody else lives an hour ahead of me and I make do, but I do not change the clocks in my house. When I come home, I live on my time, not their time. It's past 11 here. Yeah. So you're on the West Coast then, somewhere. Just by going by time zone, I was like 2, 1. Anyway, I was doing math in my head, Michelle. How many time zones is that? Minus an hour each one. Anyway, but it seems like whatever this, they're on a roll with this stuff. I mean, I was watching an interview. It's a few days old now, where Kevin Sorbo has been boycotted pretty much. And in the interview on Fox, he said that, Facebook took him down. And he said, I've got other platforms and other things. He said, but, being a Christian and a conservative in Hollywood just doesn't work out. And, some of the best, one of the best shows that, as far as space and so forth, to me was Andromeda. And Kevin Sorbo was the captain and all that kind of stuff. Well, he's been in a lot of independent shows because he's a Christian and, he's a conservative. So nobody will hire him. So he has stayed active as an actor in many other films and stuff that, might be considered B class, maybe even some, but they're independent films. But he's always kept a job somehow, even though he's maintained that he's a Christian and a conservative. So, but they took him off of Facebook, and he said, it's not so much that they took me. And he said, they never gave me a reason why they took me down. But like a lot of other people, being a Christian, he's against abortion and certain things. And so he's like, you can't have a point of view anymore. So to me, everything I've seen about the guy, he seems like a really genuine, honest guy. He's an actor, but he's a genuinely nice guy and cares about people and cares about stuff. He's volunteered for things. So, but anyway, so they took him down and he goes, he said, what I'm disappointed in is that all my fans and all my followers who I was connecting with, I don't have that anymore. He said, I'm disappointed because of them. So, but anyway, so it's like, why are they doing this purge? What's up? Well, the new administration and all these other kind of things. No, but I mean, mentally speaking, what's up with these people? We've had, 3 weeks of this, 4 weeks of this, right? I guess, yeah, on the 20th, it's been 4 weeks. So what is the theory behind this? You know what I mean? Well, they want to make us all some kind of, if they want to make us unisexual, which was back in the day of Twiggy, everything was unisex. Well, now they got 51 different choices. How is that unity? That's dispersing, well, wait a minute, there, is one of those 51 things I can be Miss Piggy if I choose? Or can I be Kermit the Frog? Can I be green? Now, some of the latest info, now this isn't just about, Kermit and Miss Piggy, but here's the craziness of this. Like, there are a lot of reports coming in from Texas and especially Arkansas and other places that the snow that fell on the ground ain't snow. not in the traditional sense. A lot of people are going, it snowed here, but it's usually melted by now, and it ain't melting. And the temperature, it's not cold enough. The snow should be melting. And so there were reports in Spain and Portugal over there where I talked about this video where this lady makes a snowball and it catches on fire. It's some kind of plastic or something. So the information that's out is that with weather modification, they have come up with a way to use nanoparticles that reproduce like snow and under the right conditions. So that's why it ain't melting. That's why it's like some kind of plastic or something. So now, Jody, if you're still in the house, you were asking me about the snow. Well, there's a lot of information because it covered a huge, bunch of stuff here. And that was this Texas thing actually created on purpose. And so cold air, now, granted, it has snowed in Texas before. It has, but here's the thing. The snow's also melted after it snowed. It's also melted. And this snow just ain't acting right. So we have to ask ourselves, they want to give us fake snow. They want to give us fake information. They also want to shut us down and tell us that a 40 or 50-year-old tradition of the Muppets is somehow now not socially acceptable. So we live in strange times, we do. Which hell it could be identified as Google because letters probably want the same thing. Yeah, Joyce, it is. Actually, I think they've turned up the heat slightly. I mean, I've boiled crabs alive, and one of the things you should not do for the crab's sake, we didn't know this way back in the 60s. We put them in the pot and then brought it up to a boil and heard all them crabs in there trying to get out. That was cruel. But to dropping into boiling water, you say, well, that's cruel, but it kills them right away. They don't, scramble and fight, and because that's really a horrible sound. And so there is a lot of information that's coming out now. My daughter has confirmed that 2 people that they knew who got the vax died within 2 weeks of receiving it. And apparently, fairly healthy people. So, but the idea that there are nanoparticles and DNA RNA stuff in the vaxes are that these nanoparticles can sit inside a person for 10 years and then activate under some condition. And it's like, if the snow burns and doesn't melt, you have to stop and wonder, well, wait a minute, hang on, wait a minute. So our whole reality is not necessarily a matrix, if you will, but they're making this shit up as they go along. Now, but, to create fake snow and do all that to what they just did and people freezing to death. And I mean, I'm just saying, but the thing with the Muppets, though, you have to stop and wonder who ticked them off, what pissed them off, what set them off to do what they did. Was it something that was behind the scenes that some of the folks wouldn't go along with what the mouse wanted, and so, or is there really I want to say, sinister in that then they should dismantle themselves, you know. But if they won't show Dumbo, in a way, they are dismantling themselves. So, in order to stay with whatever new thing they want, um, then when they have when they have the characters dancing around, the different parks, is Cinderella now? She has to be Puerto Rican, or maybe she should be Chinese. Um, um, you know, is Little Red Riding Hood now going to be um, an Asian American girl, or is she going to be from South America and speaking Spanish? Is she going to be? I mean, and I'm not being rude here. I'm just saying certain stories. That's the stories, but now they want to change all the stories to fit a new paradigm. So what the hell's up? Why do they want to change it? All white people are bad. Well, I'm not white. I got more Cherokee in me than I got anything else. So I don't consider myself white, but and I think I'm still a male. I don't know. I mean, with all this gender stuff going on, hell, I'm confused. But as old as I am, it's too late to worry about it now, in my opinion. But improv, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that was discussed about the snow, just to kind of like top this off, was that it had to be AI that coordinated the harp to achieve the weather modifications and whatever was in the atmosphere to come down. When I was bringing the groceries in earlier on this evening, the temperature's dropping, right? And I got my little headlamp on and I'm getting groceries out of the truck. And I stop and it's really clear. The moon's coming up, and but in my headlamp, I see particles in the air outside. And some of them are like little stringy like things just falling. I'm going, now, what's this? Now, at nighttime, I've talked about it before. It was really foggy the other morning, and you can see sometimes the moisture particles if you got a headlamp on, right? And so, but tonight I was out there, and what should have been clear, nothing coming. The air, there shouldn't be anything in this in the air. What are all these particles that I'm looking at? And I was like, I don't even want to look. I got to go in the house. So there are particles that are raining down on us, and I don't know where they're coming from. But a couple hours ago, it was like 7 o'clock at night, and temperature dropping. That all these particles are in the air. Uh, I mean, it was sort of like if you sit in your house and there's a little dust particles that you can see sometimes with light coming in through a window or something like that. Um, it wasn't a lot of them, but there were more particles in there than should have been, just kind of floating around and dancing and shit. Just saying, you know. So we don't know what these crazy folks have done to us. Yeah, Michelle, I don't know if they're necessarily making it up, but I agree with you. Here's the thing. I think they've already made up these scenarios. I think what they're doing now is to just they're like water balloons, they're like turd bombs or something. And well, we're going to do this one. They throw this one over there, and see how much it stinks up the area. They throw another fart bomb over there. And well, and this fart bomb happens to be the Muppets. But I still got to say, there's something else. It ain't it's not just the gender or the racist or the because if they were truly to do that, then they would shut themselves down because they were based upon an all white. Uh, I don't think they had black artists back then in the day. You see all the old artists and all those folks who did all the gels and all the real animation in the old days, and the way they put them together, frame by frame and all. But so we're all the black people that were in the industry back then. We're all the black artists. We're all the. So almost said the D word. Um, the mouse and them, they should, sort of like, have referred to this Franz Kafka story, and I can't remember the name of it. I should look it up. But this executioner, it was his job to create this machine to execute people thoroughly, and it was a devious device. It literally ate people and crunched them and masticated them and spit them out the other end. So, but they came to him and said, well, the king has outlawed executions, and especially by the machine, and he was ordered to dismantle it. So as he tried to dismantle the machine, it started up and he got caught in his own machine. And as it ate him, the machine came apart and they were both destroyed, the creator and the machine. So this came up as part of the thing. I was like, man, it's just like that Kafka story where, the animal's going to end up eating its own tail. How much is it going to devour of itself in order to stay in line with what whoever is supposed to be thinking? But I think there was something else. I think there's something politically motivated underlying this, and they pushed him out. Somebody in the Henson Foundation said, and if that's true, then I say good for them, because Jim, he started it. He was the man behind it. He got backing. He did this, but I don't think he really wanted to be bought out. You know what I mean? So the fact that the mouse would want to enter into this agreement and trying to run roughshod over Henson's relations, they're just going, sorry, dude, my pop was, started this business, and you think you're going to come in here and tell me what to do? And I think that kind of sort of is what's going on. But we'll see. Yeah, the snake eating its own tail. Absolutely. I think as far as making it up as they go along, I think they've got a box of fart bombs. And that's what they're making up. They got stuff to drop, but who they're going to drop it on, I think that's what they're making up. But at the same time, well, we could see why this person went, and we could see why they didn't like that guy, like Kevin Sorbo. Oh, he's a Christian conservative in Hollywood. There are a lot of other people. I mean, look what they did to Roseanne Barr. She's a Jewish woman. She's very religious in her own way. She's very, proud and outspoken. And look what, the ABCs, which is also the Mouse Corporation, did to her. And I boycotted the news show and all those people who, turned on her. And it's like, a shame on these people. So they didn't just start this, but it has kind of sort of picked up steam. But is there thinking to disperse and divide our psyches such that those people who are like on the edge of things, what the Muppets are no good? Well, we must boycott the Muppets from now on. And I mean, where do they want to go with this? If they've got money tied up in this, then they're going to lose a crap load. They piss enough million people off, they're going to missing a whole lot more of the Mulan, if you know what I mean. With the educational system of 2 + 2 = 5, we have to wonder. Yeah, I know. I've watched her, Michelle. Yeah, she does have a YouTube. But I haven't seen her on in a while, and I'm wondering if they. I'll have to check. But if somehow I got unsubscribed, but there are some really real people out there. You know, I'm just an old hippie puppeteer, storyteller, engineer guy. Where quote those famous people that we've known for the work that they do in their arts, like Roseanne, and all the things that her show brought out, you know, and even when the new one came out, the lesbian girl and the thingy and the blah blah blah, come on, but they picked on her. So anybody that's outspoken, and I think what it's done to those of us who truly loved Roseanne, or who truly loved Jim Henson, or who truly loved the work of Kevin Sorbo, or the lady that got canned from by the mouse the last week in her work. Um, you know, Being publicly canned, if anything, would tell other people, "Hey, look, that person's available." You know, Let, I like their talent. Let's see what we can do. So, this company doesn't like what you do, and you've been publicly blacklisted. The planet is a whole lot bigger now, in the sense that back in the day, if you were blacklisted, you weren't going anywhere unless you knew an independent. A lot of folks blacklisted in Hollywood ended up in Italy and doing films over there and stuff, the dubbed ones and the spaghetti westerns and things. And so because it couldn't get work in Hollywood. um, I'm trying to think. I think he's one of the Quaid's brothers, boys. Randy, no. Anyway, um, he was on the news years ago and moved up into Canada, BC, and out of Hollywood. And everybody thought he was crazy when he was talking about star whackers. He said, there are too many of my friends that are getting killed and they're ended up dead, and they're star whackers. And you're crazy. And he moved away. So we have to stop and consider, well, no, he was just a crazy person. Was he? Or is he? You know, Many people coming out of that sort of society and talking about, the different cults and the things and the this and the that. And so it's like, well, wait a minute now. Um, did it really occur? Okay, so they call it Hollyweird for a reason. And a lot of Hollywood has been moving into Georgia and into Florida. A lot of films have been changed and moved around, uh, whether it be politics or whatever. But uh, a lot of film industry has opened up, even in Alabama. Not so much in Mississippi that I know, but Georgia, Florida, and parts of Alabama, and a lot of good countryside, a lot of good people, a lot of good scenery, a lot of ways to be able to go in there. And where are they shooting? Alabama? Anyway, they've shot quite a few movies here in South Georgia. Burt Reynolds' movie, Skater, was filmed on a lake about 60 miles west of me. Big lake, cypress trees. And being that, Burt Reynolds went to Florida State, played football and all, and but theater major. So um, I used to know quite a few professors down there in the theater department through my association with Tallahassee Little Theater and Thomasville on Stage. And there's some real snobs too, but and some of the students are real snobs, but there are a lot of genuine people too, black and white. Met a lot of good black artists, male and female, from Florida A&M. But anyway, so a lot of films being made down in the South from about Southerners by Southerners. Independent films you might not ever see the titles of, but artistic work being done. So, folks are trying to not be in Hollywood. We don't have to go to Hollywood anymore, is my point with that. So, anyway, let's all make a movie. Randy Quaid. It is Randy Quaid? What's his other one, the more good looking one? He's a Quaid brother, right? Dennis Quaid. Thank you very much, Michelle. You got a good head on your shoulders, you do. I guess that's what it is. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. With all this seriousness going on, I mean, but here's the thing. I was just like peeking in on what folks were, their remarks about the rat and what they did. And it's just like, it's disbelief. And in a way, it's sort of like a horror. I mean, even the Australians were going, they picked on the Muppets, and I was like, we'll see how this goes. So tonight I was just bored at 1 o'clock in the morning and thought I'd get on here and rant for a few minutes but put my voice out there as to like, we just need to tell them how stupid they are and what a bunch of idiots. Who do they think they are, and what do they think they're going to prove by this? But they want to control us. That's the big thing. So they want us to change our mind about how we see the Muppets and how diversity. Oh my God. Look how many puppet characters there are. Talk about diversity. The Muppets Made Manhattan, and the musical, and the delight, and the cheers, and the laughter. Oh, but they're going to show that one clip of Steve Martin, and the whole shebang's a wash. Shame on that. So, my friends, um, yes, you're welcome, I think, Michelle. So, I won't keep you. It's 2:32 in the morning time. I just want to pop on and say I love you all. I keep praying. And I was going to say, pray for me for Friday that these two ladies don't work my ass off, that I survive. I survived the onslaught. That they're going to be. These two ladies know me very well, and they wouldn't harm, touch, or otherwise dispose of something without my saying, "Yeah, go ahead." I mean, I love you too, Travis. All you. Yeah, I've got Muppet stuff here. I mean, I've got some of my puppet characters here myself, and I'm thinking, so if I come up with a voice for this puppet and talking about doing certain things, and so now it's going to be any orange bird puppets that talk about something. Did you snort? Yeah, I did. I think so. Like that. But so this idea that so we just got to pray for each other and go, man, the mayhem. Who would have thought it would be like this crazy? So, but people used to call you Big Bird. Okay, Travis and Michelle, it is a mad, 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 mad world. That was a movie and a book, right? Probably. I can't remember who was in it, but I want to say Bob Hope wrote something like that way back in the late 50s or 60s. I read some books Bob wrote. Anyway, um, Big Bird. Okay, was it Big Bird's character that always talked to Snuffleupagus? Who was it that talked to Snuffleupagus all the time? Because didn't he like disappear, or not? People didn't. There was a period of time when only one character, way early on, was it Big Bird? But anyway, okay, all right, I got that right then. But I'm thinking, my kids who are 45 and going on 50 now, um, watched them back then on an old Sylvania black and white TV in the early 70s. Yeah, we had color TV, but I couldn't afford one back then. Now you get them, you know, for what I bought a portable television set back in the late 60s, early 70s. Now they were good sets, don't get me wrong. Um, for 130 bucks, you could buy a Sylvania that you could carry around. Uh, Now for 130 bucks, I got this great big 36-inch, HD TV with Roku, and it's Wi-Fi, and for the same price. Now I can't carry that around and take it anywhere, but but and I had one of those old Sylvania televisions, and it worked for years and years and years. He had a dog named Snuffy. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with Snuffy Smith, you know. Now, I think that all those, jokes about Southerners, I think we should start, saying, hey, anybody that picks on us that says y'all need to just back off. You must be a racist against Southerners, you know. Well, them people down there that say y'all, they're just crazy, they're inbred. No, I just like saying y'all. It sounds better than you all or youans, which is the northern version. You know, um, yeah, I had a dog named Sue, and no, I'm kidding. That was I was thinking of Johnny Cash. But of all the turmoils and all of the things that we have transpired and changed over the years, from the days of watching. Um, um, for example, Dick Van Dyke. They slept in separate beds. They weren't even allowed to sleep together. They couldn't have a queen size bed. I Dream of Jeannie. She couldn't show her navel. There was a big to do about it. That her costume had to cover her navel, and it was like there were all these really weird things that was so strange back in the day, and now they show backsides of people and their butts and their and side views of nakedness, and people getting it on in a double bed or in the back of a car, or and it's like, my, how times have changed. So but it's okay to show that or whatever. But it's not okay to say that the Muppets are somehow have become socially, irresponsible. If anything, it should prove how far we've come in our thinking. Have the Muppets done anything recently that we don't know about? Well, on Cartoon Network, there's some really crazy stuff with some of these puppets. I mean, with some of these cartoon characters. And they're trying to explain, uniqueness, or this alien is purple, and well, I'm white and I'm black and I'm purple and all the wait a minute, I'm purple. How's that? What's that got? Anyway, so the whole conversation about that is like they're teaching your children what? To be confused? We could just say, look, there's another human being, and he's a different shade of color than I am, you know, or I'm, Miss Suffy Lumpicus. That's a good one. I like that. Hey, Judy, boundaries have been removed, and they're removing more. And supposedly the law in California is that, like, if by the age of 4 or 5 or 6 or something, if you say, "Hey, I want to be a girl," you can start taking blockers. If you were born with a dingy, then it's either a dingy or not a thingy. At either one, right? But or the odd times of both. But there are weird anomalies in science and nature, and sometimes stuff happens. But to have a child who's under the age of 18, that the state says, "Mommy," well, the state says that if your child says, "Mommy, I want to be a girl," then you can take them down to, I guess, the state health department says, my little Tinky here, he wants to be a girl now. So, we're going to go ahead and let him do this. Well, it's a transgender, and it's a thing. And there was a discussion between folks, the LGBT, and there were a lot of apparently transgenders um, and transvestites who were like, "Wait, I like to dress in women's clothing, but I'm not gay." But wait a minute, but you're dressed? No, I like women's clothing, but I'm not gay, and they're not. Now there are those who but to dress in drag is not a transvestite. Okay, so, and I speak this, but the trannies are going, wait a minute, we don't want to be included with the LGBT. Leave the T off. Now, if you mean transgenders, but if you're trying to throw in us transvestites, we disagree with you. We don't want to be included with this group because we're not homosexual. We just like to dress up like this. Now, there's an argument within the group as to who the group should be. And some of these folks are going, not me. I don't agree with what you all are doing. We have our own little community over here. We are transvestites. We're men who dress up as women, like a club. Okay. Some people play golf. Transvestites play golf. And Lord knows a transvestite is not the same as a drag queen, because I have met and known both. So, but so I can understand from their standpoint. And it's like, so why don't you just, here's the thing, it's the acceptance of, if a man says, I'm a transvestite, you can't fire me because I'm a transvestite. Okay. If you do your job and you do it well, but you're a transvestite, okay, I'm good with that. If you want to come in high heels and you can do your job, I don't care. But if it affects your performance and what you do with the company, that's different. And people go, well, I should be allowed to work at a company. If you're not qualified and you can't do the job, then I'm sorry, then no, the X, Y, or Z company should not hire you. If you can't do the flipping job, no. Sorry, I don't care what color, sex, whatever you want to call. If you can't do the job, then never mind. Then the rest of it just doesn't matter. But so with this little bit about this, though, it's just they're trying to push an agenda, even on the people who I guess at first thought it was like okay to be, included with this group, and now they're like, no, we trannies really don't feel like these people. So, but that's interesting to hear, you know. Um, Hi, Christy. She says it confuses me. Why dress up as women? Yet real born women are the serpent's enemy. Um, I don't know about that, but um, having dressed up in drag before, I can understand why some guys would just love the feel of nylons. I'm sorry. Um, no, I'm not a transvestite, but having known drag queens and folks, it's like, but it's the feel of the dress and it's looking pretty. And there's really something to it. But you have to be in their head, that's all I got to say about that. In their head, they feel pretty, whereas a man, they just don't. And you go, well, but no, they feel pretty. And every once in a while, don't you just say, maybe I just want to feel pretty. Oh, so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and wise. Okay. I'm just during the conversations you can chime in about the dresses and dressing up. Hi. Yeah. Anyway, it just sort of the tail end of what I was talking about. Gaza, how are you? It's okay, Jody. Sure, I apologize. My mind is just, yeah, it's all right. Generated. Sometimes that's how things come out. Real puppets to explain how we are and how we became the way we are. The confusion is too much imagine. Right. If I choose self identity as a ham sandwich and somebody said, well, I don't like ham sandwiches, could theoretically somebody sue that person for being sexist? That's a weird thought that came to. That's kind of sort of where I'm at that. Don't apologize. I understand what you mean. Because there's a lady, no, she's not a lady now, she's a guy. See, it confuses me to even try to talk about it in respect to her, who was on the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. And now he doesn't want to be called a she now. And so we need to refer to him in the present, but he was a she the last two seasons. But I'm confused. Now, to the point of having this person, ham sandwich, with some Grey Poupon or some horseradish. Oh, nothing like horseradish and ham, right? Anyway, um, now you got me thinking about mustard. Yeah, I love the ham sandwich theory. Me too. And that's why I was saying earlier, a few minutes ago, I'm like, for all them people who pick on Southerners with a Southern drawl, and who, all those comics on stage that talk about us Southern people and how we talk like this. So we do, big deal. I can't understand some folks from Brooklyn, okay? So hey, don't pick on us Southerners, y'all. You know, but this idea, though, that, you know, I think it's going to be that, you're wearing a smile today. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to sue you. I feel like shit. And you're smiling and you're interrupting my depression. I'm going to sue you. You know, it's just as nutty to be used as anything possible. We're messing ourselves in every way, shape, and form. Well, they're trying, but Travis, between you and me, I'm not. Are you? I'm not messing it up. I'm looking at it going, nah, not me. I do not consent to this weirdness. Right. Nope, just yellow, but nice car, my brother. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about horseradish. And I was sitting here when I started thinking about, see, we get, here in the middle of the night and it's like, I start talking about, Kermit and Miss Piggy, and now we're talking about mustard. um, I've been, um, I have gotten into wasabi. And growing up as a child, I didn't like anything hot, but I always loved, for whatever reason, horseradish and a ham sandwich. I mean, and my dad, bless his heart, Pops was a good man. He was actually my uncle, but my Pops. He, well, son, you got to have some horseradish on the ham sandwich, and him being a meat cutter and everything. And so, uh, and even to the point of mixing it in with the mayonnaise. Mayonnaise, some good ways to make a sandwich. Let me tell you that. So, Christy, honey mustard, yeah, that too, yes. Uh, but for example, went to the store today and I bought a package of hamburgers. Every once in a while, I just want a greasy hamburger. I want to cook it my way. So, but I use wasabi mustard. You know, And man, add a little hot sauce in while they're frying to give them just a little bit of hint of something else, and it's just a cheap patty. But being in the carnival and working a grill a lot, I I'll sometimes I'll just smell what I'm cooking when I'm just sitting in the house. And I smell onions and garlic and bell pepper and a hamburger, you know, because for, 30 years we worked in the carnival and did cooking and, I was called the grill master, I could cook me up some hamburgers. I did, at the car show in Moultrie at Spence Field. It's a really big deal. And I cooked for some Cajun folks that I know up in Moultrie. And he'd hired many a person to work the grill, but nobody could do what I did, and that was keep up. And so, from like 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I cooked 450 hamburgers by myself on a grill, and they was done. They was good, but anyway, and nobody could keep up like I could. And that's frying them, cooking them. Um, They say in my country, since first part of life, I was now been damn Yankee the second part. Right, Christy. Yeah, I was a damn Yankee because I was born in Ohio, and moved down to Florida. But, having lived here in the South all my life, well, except for the first 7 years, having lived here most of my life, 61 years in the South, and having been here in South Georgia for like 50 years, I consider myself, always have been, a Southerner. Um, I've, I've traveled all around, and, there are nice folks everywhere. Don't get me wrong. And I miss the folks when I used to go to Tennessee a lot. Um, when is the closest thing you can compare wasabi to? A really strong horseradish, um, Jody. Um, I went to it's a Japanese restaurant that does the sushi, not Chinese, right? Okay, but anyway, and it was in Tennessee too. It was in, um, I'll think of it in a minute, but anyway, I was in Tennessee doing puppet shows, and my friend, takes me out to this Japanese restaurant that opened up near his house, and I was staying with him and his daughter, and um, so, and I don't really like sushi. and the little rice roll. I'm not really partial. It's okay, but why people go out of their way, not sure. But all right. So, but anyway, I'm trying a little this and a little that, and he goes, "Here, try this wasabi." And he goes, "Now it's hot." So then I was like, "Holy crap! Yeah, Japanese horseradish, basically. It's green, like a guacamole green." But when the local store sells wasabi down here in the South, now that's a big deal. Is sort of is going with this. But it's some Indian folks that own it, Pakistani kind of, a Patel. So um, I don't doubt it, Daza, but I don't know. There are certain things that a lot of people like, and I just it's like, eh. But uh, green hot mustard that comes with sushi. Yep, that's it. Wasabi. Well, to the point though about this talking about, and then they put a feather in his pants and called him macaroni. There you go. I love it, Jody. That's a good one. But I don't know. I've been adding it more and more to things. So it's interesting that as a child and even up to like 30 years old, other than horseradish or a spicy mustard, that was about as hot as I would go. But now I'm using hot sauce and a little of this and more black pepper. Now I still can't do chili peppers. I've always done bell pepper and that kind of thing. But chili peppers or jalapenos, I not quite. Now I got to say that a couple of years ago, and I really miss it. Um, the Mexican community that I hung around with, I don't know, for almost 10 years, I knew these folks really well, and they had some kind of wedding or a birthday or something anyway at the wildlife center one weekend. And so they had all this Mexican food. I mean, there wasn't a taco in sight, let me tell you. There was flatbread, which is interesting because they showed me that if you've got a tortilla, you can put anything in that some bitch and layered on top of stuff and eat it. It's like, wow, you don't even need a plate. The tortilla is your plate. But anyway, someone made this plate of it was sort of like a scallop potatoes, okay, but just potatoes and whatever, some cream maybe. So I'm like, ooh, this looks safe to eat, right? So I put a great big bunch of it on my plate, and I'm walking along and I tasted of it, and that son of a thing put lit me on fire. And the ladies were sitting around watching me going, because I would look at it, I didn't know what it was. And they were like, "You don't like our food?" And Patricia was like, "No, he's curious. And Mr. Dave, he loves food, but it's so different. He wants to smell and taste," and it was the truth. So, these ladies like, "What, you don't like my cooking?" But I was like, "Oh my God, I don't think I can eat these potatoes." And then I had another one in my mouth before I could, and I was like, "Man, I think it's hot." And then I ate another one. And before I knew it, that whole pile of potatoes was gone. And I ate the rest of my food on my plate. And I was thinking to myself, now, of all these like 15 or 20 different plates of really marvelous food, I went back to the potatoes that were the hottest of all the foods. And I amazed myself, but it was so good. And I was like, and the lady said, "The jalapenos." And I was like, "Really, huh?" "Yeah." "Hey, Delaney, Francis red hot sauce is cayenne. Frank's red hot sauce." Yeah. Jody, it really is good. I mean, try wasabi. I mean, if you like horseradish or a really good spicy mustard, put it on thin at first to see. But I've gotten to the point where, go ahead and lather it on. To some folks are going, "That's wasabi." I know. You want some? Like, no. But, um, and I was surprised and it was really tasty as my burgers were cooking. The way we did it on the grill was we would pre-cooked some hamburgers and put them in water, which stayed steamy all the time. So it kept the hamburgers nice and juicy and the flavor in them. So when you wanted a hamburger to finish it off, then you took it out of the water because it was kind of sort of parboiled, but you knew it was done all the way. So then you put the grill on it on both sides and seared in whatever little bit of juices and whatever is, you know, and then you serve it. Oh, we sold hamburgers by the thousand. So, and the same thing with during the car shows. That's how I'd cook up a bunch of them up and have them sitting in sort of a Worcestershire kind of thing. If you have hemorrhoids, don't ever eat. Yeah. Unless it's in small quantities. That's what I've learned about the hot sauce thing. But like tonight, I put about 6 drops of crystal hot sauce, which is, I can't get some of the other ones in the stores around here at the moment. But anyway, so a couple of drops on each hamburger with some grated garlic on top. And then as they just start to fry, add just a little bit of water in the frying pan and put the lid on. So I steam the hamburgers all the way through. So it'll keep them juicy. And then add just enough water that as the hamburgers are cooking off, then the water's gone and I don't burn the hamburgers. I flip them over and sear them to get that last bit of hamburger there. But so the hot sauce I seared right into the hamburgers, and it was really tasty for just a cheap burger from the local store. But anyway, but we used to do things like that all the time in the carny, and working with the Cajun folks, you know. Dale sauce is one that is sort of kind of special for the Cajun folk, and I'm trying to think of it's in a green thing, but they've got Cajun, different kind of mixes anyway. That had I not worked with a Cajun, I would not have found some of these spices. And I find that I use them more than not, you know, and not everything gets a dose of, you know, Cajun spice. But there are times when you're cooking just something bland and you go, what's a drop of this and 2 drops there, and like a hamburger or something, or in a stew, and you just, well, I'm not quite sure what I want in this, and you go, let's add a little of this, and it'll give it that spice that just goes, you know. And it's just a combination of stuff. I can't think of the name. Tony's, I think it is, in a green and white. It's mostly green with white lettering, but I ate this pepper that all these guys wouldn't eat one time, and they were floored. I puked. I grew some hot peppers. Somebody gave me some seeds a few years back from their pepper plant, and I planted them. They came up, and oh my God, I had all these really beautiful hot chili peppers. Oh my God. I mean, you just start to, you know, just to try to slice them up a little bit, and your eyes are watering. You don't really want to look, you know. And for God's sakes, wash your hands. Do not wipe those tears with those fresh peppers on your hands. But man, I had chili peppers. I was giving them away, and then the old timers, well, and the new timers, but you know, after they dried and turned red, they would string them. So you got all these peppers on a string. And if you needed one, then you just pulled it off the string and added it to whatever you were cooking. But mine was a little bitty and red-orange color. Yeah, like a fingernail size, yeah. Eldest is I grow reapers, ghost, habanero, jalapenos, and any dang. You feel like this is deja vu? Carol, New Zealand was growing this chili. It was on the news. Apparently, yeah, I saw that, Gaza. Carolina Reaper. Yeah. G-Paw's Pure Fire. I bet you that's good. Now, not everything is like that. You know, for example, there are people that like blackened fish. And I'm sorry, why would you do that to a fish? I mean, I'm sorry, there are people who like, lots of different types of things. And I'm sorry, just not there, And there are some people who wouldn't eat a crawdad, but then you've never had a really good, honest to God, uh, crawdad cook, where they take a big cooker and the crawdads go in the bottom, and then they put the taters in, then they put the this in, then they put the corn on top, and they put the lid on. And by the time the crawdads are done, its steam has come all the way up through this thing, and it's cooked the potatoes and the corn and whatever else that they stacked in this big cooker. And then you pull out these crawdads, and little tiny shrimps and lobsters actually, and scrunched down on some corn on the cob, and and however they did their potatoes. But and there's something else that gets thrown. They always have rice. Any kind of good Cajun dish has got some kind of rice. But you know what's interesting, though, is, with some of these folks who are learning about prepping and things, and since we're talking about it, and Delaney brought it up, if you got hemorrhoids, don't eat anything hot. There are some of these folks, and I think a lot of folk have kind of, reconsidered their eating habits, possibly, wherein most, in my humble opinion, most human beings eat 3 times too much food. Considering what the pioneers did, now, yeah, they lived short lives. Now, some of them old timers lived to be really old timers, but there's a lot of other stuff going on back in them pioneer days. But to the point about, the lifespan of some of those old Chinese folks, or some of the Incas, and some of the Peruvians, and some of the old Mexicans, and there's some old white people too. Um, And, we'll see how old I get without catching something. Knock on wood. Um, the idea, though, that I think that runs true to many of these cultures is that they don't eat near as much as we do. I was watching a video the other day of some folks in the Himalayas building. There's a project of putting this huge log across one of the streams, so that the women, well, everybody could walk across the stream without getting washed down. And so, got around, and everybody had this little pile of rice and beans or something. And they all ate it, and was so glad to just eating it with their fingers. And they all get done, and they go back to work for the next 3 or 4 hours in this cold stream, and moving these big logs and huge things, and working together as a community and all this. And, so what folks in other parts of the world, the amount of food that they get versus some of the stuff they do, Americans eat way too much. Way too much. Way, 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 way too much. And of the wrong things. So, and for myself, for the last many years now, I don't know, I guess going on at least 10 years, or if not more, that this idea of 3 square meals a day, I realized that by staying home all the time, I would have to cook my own breakfast, cook my own lunch, and then, then turn around and cook supper. I'd be spending my whole day just cooking. Now, when I worked, I caught something for breakfast somebody else made. I went out to eat for lunch, and then I came home, and so I only made 1 meal a day, even though I was eating 3 and piecing in between. So now I realize if I have 1 good meal a day and small portions through the day, my weight is, still about 160-ish. I don't have my boyish figure, but I'm not bloated, and I was out, running with Duggar, and we play kickball, and I'll be 69 in September. So I think to myself, I know there are old people who can still run around, and I'm not the only one, but There are a lot of folks younger than me that can't do what I do. And so I just think back and go, I'm really lucky and I choose not to give up. And I know that there is a spiritual energy that can help you heal your physical self. Because otherwise I wouldn't be doing some of the stuff that I have been getting done. Me and Doug are going down in the backyard the other day and kayaking around, and the river's coming down a lot. So, and I talked with my friends today, and I was like, so we're gonna plan a sort of a family, not family, but family kayak camping trip here before it gets too warm. So looking forward to that, picking a river and going and playing. But and the thing that the idea that wanting to do something as a family, whereas folks have been divided to not do stuff together. Well, me and the kids are going to go do this, but that don't mean that Grandpa and Uncle Dave or somebody. No, back in the day, we used to have family reunions, and it just doesn't seem like that's been the case recently. So coming up on 320, and it'll be 420 somewhere. I'm like 230 to 250, not fat, just chunk. And see, Travis, I used to be, I was 250 at my heaviest weight, and now I'm down to 165. And I was carrying a small child with me everywhere I went. And when I realized that, 75 pounds for me to carry around all the time, everywhere I went, you know, was like just stupid. I just said no. I was 130 pounds growing up for many years, maybe 135. And then I sort of hit middle age and I hit 160. And then I went to 250. But in all of that, though, I realized no, I don't need it. I'm consumed about food. So what I do is that I will say, okay, you can have some, but you're not going to sit down and eat a whole great big plate full of it, which I'd eat two plate, I'd make spaghetti and eat two great big plates. So what I've learned to, and this is one of the things in losing weight, you don't go get a bigger plate. You go to the cupboard and you get a smaller plate because your mind looks at the size of the plate and goes, well, I've had a whole plate full of food. Well, if you've got a platter, which is what we used to use, and you've got a platter full of food, that's just too much. So I have some stainless steel bowls and anyway, which are easy to clean. So I eat a bowl of whatever it is, some rice, put something on top or a sandwich or something by the side. So I've got tater soup and something else, right? Uh, or a beef stew. Um, and I really like the stews because I can warm them back up. I can feed the dogs and cats some stew. Um, but anyway, and I can nibble on it later on. But a bowl. So I eat a bowl and I'm pretty, then I go, well, just a little more and I'll get another half a bowl. And that'll do me for most of the day. And then later on when I get the munchies, I'll go heat it up. 219, it's 313 here. We got a cup. Now 165. You lost 100 pounds after my first son. Holy crap. Well, I lost 75, so I do know how that feels. Yeah, see, Travis, I've talked about my adopted grandson, Big John. He's like 6'3" and 300 pounds, but he is a big man. My good friend Rob that stops in to, check on me all the time here in the neighborhood. He's a big man. Yeah, I mean, my brother, who was 300 pounds, was an inch shorter than me. Now, that's not a big man, you know what I mean? But, these other guys are like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". And shoulders, when I stand next to him, I go, crap, I'm a little old man compared to these guys, and they do look like linebackers. So I get that, but for a 5'11" guy to be 250 pounds, no, just not right. And, there are folks, well, I just can't do it. Yes, you can. But anyway, in the food department, it was, I read some studies years ago, and it is about the psyche, which is interesting. So that if you chose a smaller plate to begin with, and you fill the small plate up, your brain starts connecting. So you say, well, I've had one plate. Well, if it used to be a platter, then you've already cut your portion down probably by a third on that plate. So you say, well, I'm still hungry. And you go use the same plate and you go back and you say, okay, 2 plates. Well, if you combine that with 2 platters, now you saved a large portion of what you didn't eat simply because you used a smaller plate. And it really works. But for me, the bowl, so I can fill up the bowl, but usually by the second bowl, I'm like stuffed. I ate too much and the dog gets some and so do the cats. So I'm full and I'm still healthy. And when I'm hungry, I'll eat something, but I won't make a huge meal. Where some people I know who are single will make, potatoes and gravy and this and that, and then a great big spread and eat 2 great big plates full and don't exercise near as much as the amount of what they're putting in their body. And then they turn around and go, well, I can't seem to lose any weight. Well, because you're using platters. It's not about how much you cook, but it is about, what you only had 2 plates full, but your plates were this big. So, but anyway, there are ways if people need to lose weight or whatever. It's 3:17. We got a minute or two to go. I had 3 feather roots cut out of my leg today. What? Feather roots? I don't understand what that is, PJ. Pearl Jones. I was trying to think of, you'll laugh at this, sister. I was like, Michelle. Well, I could, that's just an M, but Michelle is easy. But Delaney Pearl Jones, I was like, that's a mouthful, right? So I was like, I'm gonna give Delaney Pearl and see Delaney Pearl. That's DP. Nope, that's not a shortcut. Anyway, but when I thought about it, I was like, Miss Delaney would get a kick out of that, I was laughing for you. I have a mutation. I grow feathers. My hair is like bird feathers. No shit, Delaney. Wow. I guess birds of a feather flock, right? Michelle says I'm hobbit height. Well, that's a good size. I swear to God, I'm shrinking though. I mean, there are certain things that I used to duck for that I don't necessarily have to duck so much, and I just, for some reason, don't. Other people are just taller when they didn't seem to be 10 years ago. I mean, when my friends came today, um, I swear to God, I'm getting shorter because, Miss Bandy comes over to give me a hug, I'm like, crap, she's a half head taller than. How did you get that big? You're not, it ain't the tennis shoes. Am I shrinking? I sometimes wonder. I've had this really strange, like, um, not necessarily becoming Rip Van Winkle, but being Winkle-ish, and in like sleeping up and wake up and you're bowling with the dwarves or the elves or something, and that time slips you by and you wake up and you're in a different reality. Feathers. That's just damned interesting. Hmm. 320. I knew I was staying up for something. There are I used to have like these splinters. Now I haven't had this in a while, but years ago it just seemed like, and someone said in something that they were like implants coming to the surface, because I would get these things that just wanted to come out of my skin. And, I have cut them, pinched them, picked them, plucked them, and, everything but use a torch on them, you know. Um, you burn from the inside. Holy crap. I know there are certain things that I used to be able to eat that in my older age I simply can't. But then talking about this diet thing with like, but now I sort of crave like horseradish and wasabi and hot sauce where, 20 years ago I'd have went, you're nuts. No, I ain't eating that shit. Maybe once in a while, but like now I'm adding it all the time, you know. And not a lot. I'm not overdoing it, but to spice it up for exactly that way. And being surprised after all these years of like having missed this. Well, I could have added a couple of drops to that before. Now, but at the same time, I may cook a stew that tastes similar to the beef stew I cooked the last time, but no two of my stews are ever the same. There might be a little bit more black pepper in it. There might be a little bit more parsley, or maybe there's twice as much garlic as it was the time before, or maybe there's twice as much onion, or something else. I'm like a Italian seasoning, and I'm trying to think of this one, but a lot of people don't like, but I like to add it. And people go, "What is that taste?" Because to me, it is sort of like a licorice. Um, and something else that I do, anything that you have potatoes in, I'm sorry, tomatoes with a T, not a P. You should always add some type of sweetener. So the old Cajun Cherokee Cuban cook that I knew down in Tampa, he would use syrups and sugar into his spaghetti sauces. And he cooked for one of the big cafeterias down there in Tampa. I can't remember the name right now, but big chain. And he was the main chef in the main one downtown. But anyway, and later on in years, I started experimenting. So I made some pork chops one time. I've made it several times actually, using grape jelly. And you saute the pork chops with some butter and some onions and garlic as you may like, um, some a little dash of oregano, and as they're searing off and cooking, then you get like a half a jar of grape jelly, depending on how many pork chops you're cooking, and just dive them in there. And the grape jelly will turn into sort of like a sauce, and leave there's got to be a little. if you cut the fat off of pork chops while you're cooking it, you're losing flavor. So leave the fat on it. Add a little bacon grease. I don't cook bacon. I don't eat bacon anymore, simply because I know what it did to my dad. you know, um, but I should get the bacon for the grease. Oh, honey, you make all the jokes you want to. I'll I'll make all the prayers of healing. Um, yeah, I swear when I was running track and playing football as a youngster, I was 6 foot. But last few times, I'm like, how did I get to be, you know, 5'11" and a quarter? Where in the hell did a half inch go? I knew I was stretching the 6 foot because it was 5 3/4 or 11 3/4. But um, I always said I'm just under 6 foot, which was the truth. But now it's like I'm not even anywhere near 6 foot tall. I'm still 5'11", but that my feet are getting bigger. My shoes won't fit. Like, I've always gotten 10s, maybe a 10 and a half. And now I get shoes that are supposed to be 10, 10 and a half. And my toes want to poke out the ends. So my feet are getting bigger and I'm getting shorter. What? Um, but anyway, with the foods that we eat. So, and what I was going to say about things with tomatoes. So I use honey, depending on the sauce, a good dollop of honey. And the other thing that is missing in a lot of people's diets, there are certain things um, in certain things, right? There are certain vitamins in certain things. So, like, the old grandmas, now that they won't be able to call it grandmas anymore. We'll call it that old lady with gray hair and a bun and glasses. Grandma's molasses. The old blackstrap molasses have got certain chemical things in them that are really good for you. So if I don't use it in something, I'll take and some blackstrap molasses and literally pour it into a sauce, and it'll give it a dark color and it'll give it a flavor. You go, what the flavor is that? So in making my roux, so anytime you make a good Cajun dish, you always make your roux first. So you put in some flour and some water and some stuff and your thingies, some bacon grease and whatever, your onions and and you stir this roux up until it gets a nice dark color. You Worcester sauce, something like that. This is where I put in the um, molasses, but it gives it a dark color and it gives it a little bit of sweet, but it also tastes like licorice and it's got really good vitamins in it. That's the reason I add it, along with the flavor. So people have eaten my black beans and rice go, man, that's the best damn black beans and rice. What's your secret? And I go, molasses. What? Yeah, grandma's molasses. If you have arthritis of any kind of fibromyalgia, any colitis or IBS, is that a tomato or poison to them conditions? I used to have that kind of stuff and arthritis and things, Delaney, and I've gotten back to using tomatoes, and I went tomatoless for a long time. And I mean, if I'd have scrambled eggs, there's got to be ketchup. Uh, I'm shameful in that. But for some reason, later on now, the tomatoes don't react the same way. But I realize I'm not using tomato sauces. I'm using diced tomatoes and adding them to things. So the concentrated tomato is what I'm not using, but I am eating more tomatoes than I used to. I mean, I went through a period where everything had tomatoes in it. fresh, otherwise sauces, heavy sauces. And now my spaghetti sauces are much lighter, but there is tomato in them. Gluten affects your arthritis is called. I just recently given up gluten bread. Gluten. Okay. I don't know about gluten for me because one of the things we got a local bakery, Flowers Bakery. I mean, like 20 miles down the road. And so one thing we're not going to run out of around here is bread. Okay. Other people aren't getting bread because we live in a town that makes the bread. We got bread, um, which I guess is a good thing. But having not really looked about what, the whole wheat bread is that um, I've been eating the whole wheat breads from Flowers Bakery for a long time now. And if I want something sweet or something, a donut, I will take a piece of bread and some peanut butter and a dash of honey and a little bit of strawberry or some kind of jam and make me a little, one piece of bread folded over, and that's my dessert. Of course, tonight now when I went to the store, I do have I splurged, but once every 2 or 3 weeks, what the hell, right? I can't bake, so um, but so I got a German chocolate cake that I'm snacking on and will for the next several days with a good glass of milk. I'm sorry, that's my downfall. A good piece of cake and some milk. Mm-mm-mm. But I grow everything that we need, so everything is organic. I use a system. Cool, Gaza. Um, but as far as the arthritis, what I've noticed for myself now, at being almost 69 and having fallen off of stuff and being hit by tree limbs and car crashes, and I got aches and pains. But the arthritis in my hands went away mostly when I stopped drinking out of plastic containers. And like my glass here is lined with stainless steel. So I moved out of plastic stuff. There is the occasional thing. I'm aluminum cans or glass bottles, no plastic bottles, no plastic water, none of that. Um, and my arthritis has gotten much better in my hands. Now, about glutens and other things, okay, maybe. Um, but I I've talked about this before, maybe since uh, you've joined or we've talked, but anyone that's having any kind of joint pain or anything like that, you must stop drinking out of plastic bottles. If you're drinking water all the time out of plastic bottles, stop. Just stop. Use glass, use stainless steel. Stop using um, plastic bottles, or stop it. Uh, People say, well, how do you get by? And I go, if they don't have something in a can, then I'm not buying a plastic bottle. Unless it's an emergency, there's no clean water around. I've just come off the river. I might drink a bottle of water. But I have friends of mine who buy bottled water and drink it, three or four of these a day, every day. Um, and they're getting the off gassing of the plastic, because when plastic is made, it off gasses. All plastics do. A lot of stuff does. And they make these plastics. They blow mold them. They pop them open with the plastic, and it off gasses on the inside because there's no way for it to get out. So then the next thing they do is they put water in it, and those gases mix with the water. Oh, it's pure water. Not a, The plastic would have to sit around for like a year to off gas, be to minimize the danger. So people don't understand this about plastics and things. So, and the containers. So, like milk jugs are the least. That kind of plastic is the least that off gases, but the real quick ones, there is a smell. I used to work in plastic manufacturing and so forth, and making molds and so forth. And the smell of the plastic in the air is like, you know, take a butter knife and, you know, heat it up and melt something, and that smell. So, but that's what it smells like when stuff's being made. The whole factory smells like that. So the plastic automatically is going to put some into the water. So for every person that's drinking out of these every day, all the time, plastic bottles for water, you are contaminating yourself a bunch. I'm investing in a few copper jugs and water bottles. That's a good idea. Copper's good. Stainless steel's easy to clean. It lasts forever. You know, you can use hot and cold. Um, and, you know, as far as contaminants, stainless steel is not going to absorb anything like a plastic. It's not going to give off anything. Copper is just expensive, but it's a really good choice. Not everyone gets affected. It's called a gluten affects your, oh, wait. Peanut butter also affects your arthritis. I'm I've got joint pain, but I think it's just because of mold. But the arthritis that used to be in my hands is gone when I quit using plastic. Because I'm still eating peanut butter. Not a lot, but I'm still eating peanut butter. Um, I'm still, you know, having sandwiches. If it's in the bread, you know, or whatever, okay. But my arthritis has not gotten worse, it's gotten better the more I have allowed to not been using plastics. That's a good thing. Not everybody has that, Gaza. But see, one of the things that I do have, and I think it may be one of the reasons why it's kind of saved me over the years. We'll see. I mean, you know, I could go, I could go at any time, right? But I dug my own well and down through 10 feet of solid red Georgia clay. And then the next 5 feet to the 15-foot level, approximately, was through a mix of red clay and white clay, what they call Fuller's Earth around here, because they make kitty litter out of it, and huge mines around here. And other things too, some ceramics and things like that. But there's a whole line of clay that runs through Georgia. And there's a plant up near Andersonville, Georgia, where the Southern Confederate prison was that was so bad. Um, there's a type of clay there that they use in pottery, and the clay was used for making the ceramics in the space shuttles uh, um, heat shield. So, but anyway, so, and then the last about 5 or 6 feet, if I'd counted down right, um, was in solid gray clay, and the water permeates through it. And so my well's about 21 feet, 22 feet deep, pipe's 20 foot, because anything over that, my well doesn't want to pick it up. But so the water that is at the bottom of my hand dug well, it seeps through clay, and it comes from underground. There's nothing around near me that's dumping anything in. So the water though that I have has clay in it, you know. So it's like it's interesting because it settles to the bottom, and even with filters, it gets through. So, but these fine clays, though, are in my coffee and in my stews. And, you know, there are times when I use rainwater for my coffee only because the clay clogs up the coffee pot. But it's not because of not wanting to use it. But anyway, So people say, well, rainwater will kill you. Well, I've been using rainwater in my coffee for a bunch of years now. I still ain't dead. Not to say there ain't nothing in it, but as far as I'm trying to be as natural as possible. One of the things that is in my standing water are leaves. And people, you have leaves in your water, and I go, yeah, I know. They're oak leaves. Well, why is there oak leaves at the top? And there's a tint to the water, right? Because it's tannin from the oak leaves, and tannin is good for us. Okay, it helps us. And so it's like a really light tea. You got to kind of hold it up to see if there's any color in it. But if you take a bucket and drop it down into my well and pull it up, the water is absolutely clear. But now if I pump it into the house, it'll come with a little bit of clay mixed in. It sucks it up out of the bottom and mixes it in and turns it into. But anyway, I think it's because of the clay. People around here have been eating clay for a long time, and it helps clean their system out. A lot of old timers eat clay. Special ponds, certain places, they're on the old maps. There are clay pits that are marked on maps, and people would go there and just dig up a little bit, but they always ate a clay from a particular area, and it was popular to a lot of people down here in the South. To some of those old people, it still is. So my point of this in my hand dug well is that I have these minerals that are already in my water, where all these people have bitched about my shallow well all these years. I'm not sick from the water. I don't have any kidney problems. I used to have kidney problems. Um, but I'm drinking mostly my water that's, has clay, certain amounts of clay in it. So, and maybe that's what's been keeping me cleaned out. I don't know, but I'm grateful for what I got. And, you know, I was just added charcoal to my cake. Yeah, charcoal. That's why if I'm cooking outside on the grill, I will broil some stuff that's like, you know, charcoal. And because that's good for us. Burnt toast is good. Great chatting. Got to go. Yeah, I'm going too. I've heard of tannin tea. Yes, most of your health ailments came from the meds. Not all of them. Um, my brain health issues were caused by the medicines because they were giving me, treating me for bipolar and this and that and trying to get rid of my seizures, and they gave me more. So they messed with my brain, which did mess with my physical, but they messed with my brain a whole lot more than they messed with my body. My body, I've just put it through a bunch of crap. A lot of accidents that weren't my fault, but anytime you have your head snapped and, rolled over in a ditch and, you have tree limbs fall on you and your scaffolding collapses and you fall 15 feet and, stuff like that, and that's, not counting the wear and tear of playing football and other activities and being in the woods and stuff. And, but my back issues are mostly because of falling off a the scaffolding collapsed and I fell backwards. And so my biggest issue is my lower back, but it took the fact that it ain't broken and that I can still walk at any age, but that's where my major problem comes in, tightness in my hands and stuff. Yeah. But, TBI sucks. Yeah. It really sucks, Delaney. It really does. Uh, who acted Google Assistant just a minute ago? Me? All right, folks, it's been 2.5 hours, 3:44 in the morning time. And this is just going to be a short little howdy doody, but It's good to have you all drop in and chat and hang out or listen in the background. We love you. You're always welcome, regardless of your color, sexual whatevers, how big or small, large or tall. Uh, we love you all. And um, however, if you find it within yourself, like me at 250 pounds, that was just not right. And my good friend Randy, who was here yesterday, he had gained a lot of weight, and he's the one that was in a coma for 3 months, the Marine. And I looked and I said, "You've lost weight." And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "And I feel good too. I feel better." So where he had just loves to eat Southern, oh my God, but he's a platter kind of guy. And, a plate and a half to 2 plates plus dessert. But it's like, he had to be fed through his stomach for a while, and he's lost weight. And the more that he's getting active, he's like, I want to try to keep my weight down. I feel good at this. After having all that said and done, and I mean, they were going to flip the switch on him. And they said, "No, he ain't dead yet. No, you don't." And he's um, he told me yesterday. He said, "My daughter's getting married next month," and he said they all thought I was going to be dead, but I'm gonna be able to walk my daughter down the aisle when she gets married. He goes, I'm the proudest I could ever be. And the fact that, he was, they called him dead twice and had to restart his heart once, I think, in that event. But so I'm trying to regrow my disc. Later, sweet dreams, everybody. You too, Delaney. Yeah. And I'm out of here too. So, but here, to me, there are people proving that with will and strength and perseverance to make a change in their lives and take control of it. You know, regardless of being in a coma a couple of months ago, and the doctor saying, "You'll never walk again. You'll never be able to do this." And here he is walking and talking. He's not driving by himself yet, but he walked in the house and we sat down and talked for a while yesterday and had a good visit. And it's good to see that he can do that. Man, I thought my friend, we thought he was gone. So miracles do happen, but the miracle has to come within each one of us. If there's any kind of message in the end of this story, which isn't ended yet, but this broadcast will be in a minute, is that if you put your mind to it, you can heal. I haven't given up on my back, but there are times when I just got to sit down. There are certain conditions because of how badly I was injured. Uh, I'm very proud and pleased to be able to do what I do. I can bitch and be grumpy and complain and groan about it, but um, I'm still able to go out and play soccer with the dog. Not long and not for, great durations, but I can and do for my exercise. So if we choose to get better, there are times when I look at the dog and go, just not today. Okay, give me 10 minutes. And 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'll make myself go out and kick the ball with the dog. And it might be for 10 minutes we play out in the yard playing kickball, but it gets my heart to going and I get muscles and, we're doing the old, chasing and thing. And even at my age, I still got pretty decent, coordination left and reaction time kind of thing to keep up with Duggar. So, um, and in that kind of little bit, I'm bragging a little bit, but a few years ago, I couldn't have stood out there on crutches and kicked a ball. So, but it's my determination and my refusal to give up because I'm still a kid inside. So yeah, I'm gonna go out and play, ball with the dog. And yeah, I went down in the yard. Uh, well, now it's been almost a week ago now, but when the water was up, and I went paddling in my own kayak, I went kayaking in my own backyard. So, and it was so funny, Duggar jumping in with that kayak with me. Wish y'all could have seen that best. But anyway, so uh, the challenge is whether or not we wish to change. The challenge is whether or not we wish to use our God-given terrestrial, celestial energy to help to heal ourselves. Because in several of the people I know who have survived cancer, two of my good friends and my friend Randy the other day, after being in a coma, he chose to get better. He chose to stay. I don't know why I'm supposed to be here, but I am. My other friend, who's also, his name is Randy, called me up the other day and said, I've made it 1 year, and there's no cancer left. So, and they've taken, he had to go through using a bag, and they this and that and blah, blah, blah. So it's like a lot of life changes, but people who others may have seen as weak and would have just died of the disease are still here because they chose to fight, and they chose to, no, I'm not giving up. And both Randys had to be hit with electrical shock to bring them back. I think twice, come to think of it, at different times. But the fact that they're both named Randy and that I know them, and they had not similar events, but as far as being in a coma, yes. But anyway, when I look at other people, it inspires me, even though they're younger than me. And I'm like, I'm just not giving up yet. I'm planning a kayak trip. And y'all in the neighborhood, get your ass down here before it gets too hot. And the rivers are already dropping quick, by the way. It's time to go hit the rivers. This is the time of year. If the river's down enough by this weekend, it's like going to be like 72 degrees in the afternoon, maybe 75, with a low of about 58 degrees, which is like the perfect spread, So time to get out on the river, time to go outside. Things are starting to bloom down here. Spring is popping up soon. Doesn't mean the cold weather is over. And that's never the we always have a cold spot in April as well. So every year, no matter what. So plan on it. But, be interesting if they're going to do it with plastic snow this year or not. Good night, Elder Barry. Thank you. Love you. Travis, the problem with the food, though, is back in the day, you didn't know what you were doing to food as far as testing it for effect on people. Right. People just ate stuff, The people that I grew up with around here that grew their own collard greens and their own taters. And tomorrow I'm going to see if I can't put some taters in the ground. It's been too wet. They would have rotted. But the old timers always said, plant down here, plant your taters a 1 week before or after Valentine's Day. Well, we've had too much rain. If I'd have planted taters out there, they would have rotted in the ground. And so, but now that we're going to have a couple of days of clear weather and no rain, time to put some taters in the ground. It's about a week later, but I'm still in February. So, and people say, what do you mean taters? Listen, if you've got some extra taters that are in your pantry that have got eyes on them, put them in a bucket with some dirt. They'll make some more taters. Okay. They're really easy to grow. And unless you get bugs on them, but, if you can grow them in containers. I have friends of mine that had 5-gallon buckets that put a couple of, one potato with a couple of eyes, and they separated, and that one potato in a 5-gallon bucket grew a whole bucket full of potatoes. So, with some sawdust and some dirt, but anyway, So, and you should check into that because it's always nice to be able to have a couple of taters to throw in for that starch and that. I don't know. There's something taters do to things, but anyway. But yeah, so um, I will talk to you soon. I'm gonna get some rest and got the stuff planned for the next couple of days because it ain't gonna be raining. Thank you, Jesus. We appreciate the rain, but we needed a couple of days to dry out a little bit. So much love, Travis, like Monsanto, for instance. Yeah, a bunch of these folks. Um, back in the day, my grandfather was a butcher. Okay, he skinned cows, gutted them, hogs, pigs. My dad was a meat cutter, so he wasn't into the gutting part. But once you got him cleaned up, he cut that puppy into whatever piece of meat you wanted, right? So different. They both were in some type of meat cutting, but one was into the butchering part and one not. But anyway, my grandpa, we used to go to one of the uh, places there, Likes Brothers, I think it was in Tampa. Don't even know if it's there anymore. But we'd go in there and get fresh sausage and bologna and stuff like that. And they'd be killing, stripping, bringing in the cows. And before you knew it, they were hanging up and there was hamburger and sausage and they were making hot dogs right there on the spot. And I watched them make hot dogs and nothing went in them other than, a little bit of fat, a little bit of this. It went into a grinder and it went straight into a hot dog thing. And it got hung up on racks and put in a steam room kind of thing, smoke room. And there was no place that you could have put anything into it. I mean, now today, I'm sure they could, but in the old days, I watched them make hot dogs. It was that simple. They ground up the thing. There was a certain amount of fat that in with every hot dog, and but it was all by eyeball. It was these guys with a thing. And they chop it off, and they knew just by sight how much was going in there, and it ground it up, and it did the thing. But they had these hot dog tubes, and they'd put them on there and make it, and then it would tie it off, and they'd put another one on and make it, put another one on and make it, and then they'd hang them up on racks, and into the smoke room it'd go. And I mean, it was like as it was going down the line, half of the cow was being hung up, and the other and the portions and things and the fat and stuff and the other pieces were being cut up, and they went right into hot dogs. Nothing in between. So people say, well, they're adding all these other ingredients and stuff. And I think back to the day when it was so simple. They didn't put anything in them. They just cut it up, this, that thing. Grinder was right there. The hot dogs are made as part of the assembly line right there in the plant. I mean, as a kid, I watched him do it. Every time I'm in with Grandpa, he'd go, Dave, go watch him make hot dogs. Okay, Grandpa. And he'd go off and do whatever he was doing. But for me to think, where in this process would they add all the stuff that they're adding to it now, when back in the day, some of those likes hot dogs were like the best. And it was just made out of cow and a little bit of fat, ground up and stuff in a wiener tube. Um, don't know. So now the process has changed. So now they're doing it this way and it's going into some kind of thing. Now it's automated and they add these other things into the mix or whatever. Don't know. But sausage was made very similar back in the day. But that was more in the pork area where they did make beef. But they had bags of spices, and the container would go on top of the sausage maker. So as the sausage is turning in this auger, little bits of the pepper and whatever was in the mix there got mixed in right there on the spot. But mostly it was like peppers and stuff like that. Nowadays, God knows what they put in the sausage or the hot dogs. But in that respect, there was sort of an added thing to the sausage, but it was sausage. you're supposed to have, stuff in it, right? But nowadays, who knows? But as a child, remembering it very clearly how it was made and how they did it, how it was processed, watching the cows get skinned, watching them getting, I mean, 20 minutes, that cow was alive and now it's cut up and part of it's hot dogs and some of it's sausage and some of it's now going to be hamburger and, 20 minutes from cow to steak. And I mean cleanly done. I mean clean. Maybe not for the cow, but it, not a lot of blood. Once you get the skin off and the guts out, the carcass is like relatively clean and I guess I've been around too many sides of beef. 20 minutes. Oh crap, I'm still on here, ain't I, Travis? 28 20 more minutes to 420. You're trying to produce more yields for the feed because you um well, see, back in the day, Travis, down here, they're all grass fed with a corn which is locally grown, I might add, because most of the farmers down here that do their own beef also grow their own corn or buy corn from a next door neighbor who's growing corn. So they will set up a little cooperative. There are a lot of little co-ops down here. So Farmer Joe is got 30 acres of corn, and he's going to try to sell it, for premium. But if it gets dried out, then he has to, the best he's going to get out of the corn is not going to be in cornmeal or as like fresh corn, but it's going to end up being, well, any corn's good for meal just about, but um, sometimes it's better for feed. So they partially, they don't really grind it. It's more like cracked corn, and they mix it in with some soybean that's usually locally grown and other grains. So they're not, the cows around here that are sent to market anyway are not like the ones that the big beef stalls where they put them in and they grain feed them and all that and blah blah blah, and then they slaughter them. uh, then you really don't know what you're getting. But the cows that were grown down here, and if you can go to an auction and buy a cow and take it to the local butcher, and they'll do the whole 9 yards, and buy a cow and slaughter it. A lot of folks down here do it, but they know the farmers where they get who grow the cows, and the farmer who's growing the cows is not going to put anything into that cow that because he's going to eat one of them cows. So, but these big cow farms, they don't care. But the folks down here in the South, if you want to buy some local grown, it tastes totally different from them big manufacturers. So there's eating of, and then there's the eating of. And some people, well, what kind of corn is it they grew? Well, some of these guys have been buying certain grains for a long time. And a lot of times they will plant their own corn from what they've grown or what another farmer has grown that has proven good in this area. So if there's a certain corn crop that has made it to a half drought, then that's a strong corn. I want to plant that same corn again. So if they can plant their own corn, um, then that saves them the cost of buying the corn and happen to, whether or not that corn's any good, when they know that this is a second or third generation corn of local growers. So not all corn is grown from a Monsanto seed or some kind of genetic. A lot of farmers prefer the old straight back regular corns. There are certain sweet corns and things, they get into GMOs. But the old stock corn for corn growing, that's the same, they want the same kind of corn over and over and over again. Now that don't mean everybody's doing that, okay? But big farms are the ones, corporate farms are the ones that are using more of the genetic stuff versus local farms, they can't afford it, but they've already got a system established down here that works for them. Why mess with it? They might plant a little bit, but they're not going whole hog. Well, here's the thing, Travis. Like for me and us down here, there are folks who will, that will dress deer and goat and wild pigs, And so if you choose what you eat, if you know where the person's getting it, like the local place that I just went to, they buy all the meat local, it's cut up local, and it's sold local, okay? And this little meat place up here been here for 30 years, right? I've been ever since I've been here, that store's been there. And they've always had a meat counter, they've always had a meat cutter. And so when they process their own beef, so they'll get a whole side of beef, but it's usually from a lot of Western grown beef, um, because the people here, um, they don't want a Walmart steak. Okay. That's why they go to these guys, because they're local meat cutters. And so, and they have a deal like 5 packages if they're marked for $20. So I got 3 steaks that are about 4 something a piece, and more because Duggar needs bones and he loves them, and I'll cut them up into make a stew or something. But um, and then some pork chops and some ribs, and it was about 26.50 total for what was on the packages, and I got them for $20. So the pigs are local grown because there's a lot of local hogs around here. A lot of farmers that do hogs uh, um, grow their own corn, or local farmers grow corn and sell it to the hog producers here. So they don't buy a lot of stuff from a long way off. They can't afford it. So they make deals locally between themselves. So if you know what you're doing and where you're buying. Now, I wouldn't eat a chicken from around here for nothing because of how they're grown and how much stuff, and they're all theirs is straight. You ain't heard me talk about chickens. I won't eat a chicken, not anymore. Uh, but the beef, hogs, those kind of things, because uh, of the way they're grown around here. A lot of farmers still do kind of sort of a free range thing. Versus, now they will put hogs on a fattening slab for the last couple of weeks before they take them to market. But it's like the farm that I worked on. The corn was from the crop they grew. So they were feeding their hogs. They were making their money not on the corn, but they were saving money by growing the corn. So yeah, they had the corn. Yeah, they planted it. Yeah, they did this and that. But their own crop fed the hogs, which gave them their income. But anyway, so if you know where it's coming from, um, you can go and check in your local area, depending on where you live, and I bet you'll find some local grown stuff, or you can find somebody who's a butcher or somebody, and they'll turn you on to the guy that knows where the best steaks are, or where the good beef's coming from, and it ain't from Walmart, and it ain't from a big package store, okay? Not to say that's all bad, but most of it all comes from feedlots. But if you get any kind of Western grown beef, it's all grass fed and corn fed. And so the only toxic things on it are what comes out of the sky. And well, we just have to take our chances. But it's also in the amount of beef or whatever that we eat. And I've noticed that, I used to eat a big steak and a potato and a salad and a dessert. And now I take one steak and cut it up, and it ends up being 2, 3 meals. Because beef tips and rice, which I made some yellow rice and beef tips not too long ago. I got some more rice tonight. So, because I want to do that again. That was really good. And that fed me for 2.5 days. And the dogs and the cats got some too. So, off of one steak, $4, $5, So, how you use the meat, how where, like I know, I don't just buy my meat from anywhere. I go to the local butchers because they have been buying Western beef for a long time, which is much more tender. Oh my God. But anyway, but I know people down in Florida that do it that way. People over in Alabama that do it that way. Uh, even in Tampa, there were certain stores and places that dealt with certain types of meat from certain places. They wouldn't, you know, uh, they weren't big box stores, and they had all different kinds of cuts, and you could tell just by looking at the meat that it was better because those people eat that product. And like my pops always said when he was running the cookhouse, he said, if I don't like the hamburger, I'm not selling it. If I don't like the hot dog, I ain't selling it. I'm not buying it. If whatever it is, if I don't like it, I'm not selling it. I don't care how cheap it is. It's got to be a good dog. It's got to be good sausage. It's got to be good hamburger. And he found, like in Douglas, Georgia, not up the road from me, 50 miles or so, man, it might be a little further, but um, big meat packing plant up there of local grown beef, and and they package it. So he had hot dogs and sausage from there, and oh my God, the hot dogs from there. But that was then. But so there are a lot of local package plants that do stuff that never go to Walmart. You know, it's all the smaller stores and like my pops, people on carnivals and people in small stores that do business. They'll find these folks that have a good product for a cheaper price, and they don't have to buy it from Walmart or some of these places. And so, there are good products. It just depends on what you know. And like for me, I guess, have grown up in the butcher, you know, meat cutter and, sort of food industry with the carnival and everything, and learning that about things. And in a lot of ways, fast food restaurant on wheels, but, like a gypsy. Um, but learning from Pops how to buy things that were good and that didn't have to come from Walmart or some store. Even though he worked for 20 years for um, Pantry Pride down in um, well, just outside of Tampa, Town and Country was where he worked. But anyway, Kate coming out in 6 minutes. You know what? I'm gonna hang out with you for 6 more minutes, right? I still got some in the bottom of this bowl, and then I'm gonna go get a glass of milk and some German chocolate cakes. About once every 3 weeks or so, the local place has these frozen cakes. Now, it used to be that, the local bakery shut down. I would go at least once a month to the bakery and get some, pastries or a cake or something like that. Because, I don't eat anything like that every day, but it's like to not eat it ever, it's like, wait a minute. So I know people who would eat a cake once a week. I used to do it, but I realize now that cake tastes so much better if I only have it once a month. I mean, it makes it more special. Well, I could buy one every week if I wanted to, but then it's just like, yeah, it still tastes good. But when you ain't had it for a couple of weeks, and then there's a German chocolate cake or a good carrot cake or something, and you just go, mm, mm, boy, that's good. I've just got to say, boy, that's good. You know, just because it's early or late, depending on where you're at. Mayonnaise is grease and extra oil. I liked raising chickens, but you know what? I was much more interested in the eggs than I ever was about eating the chicken. I mean, I have killed, plucked, and cleaned, chickens. Not into it. I've raised rabbits, all different kinds. I've raised ducks. Nope. I'm not into the murdering thing. I'm just not. Now, a wild rabbit or something. Now, if I turn my rabbit loose in the yard, I could shoot it, you know. But as far as just taking a knife and killing it or breaking its neck and then dressing it, nope. But chickens I raised for their eggs, and I've sold eggs. I've bartered for them. And in talking with one of my friends yesterday, I was like, it's springtime, and I'm seriously considering getting some more chickens and starting the chicken farm kind of thing back up again. Um, and now that I got Duggar, if he was raised around the chickens, uh, like right now, when I've had him almost a year now, but when he first got here, he was always chasing the cats. Now he goes over and sits by the cat, and sometimes the cat goes over and sits by him. So I know learned behavior is it's just that. So if he was raised around a bunch of chicks, and he got to know them and they got to know him, then he would protect them versus try to eat them, I think. Because I'd be busting his nose. 417. Man, buy some milk. What? Lactose intolerant milk. I tried some almond milk, Simply Silk or something like that. And it's not bad. It even goes in coffee. It ain't bad. Now I got the vanilla flavored almond milk. Thank you very much. Yeah, and it really wasn't bad. And I was like, well, I bought a gallon of milk today at the store. That the expiration date it was tomorrow, the next day, and it's sour. So the dog and the cat got most of that gallon of milk already, but nothing goes to waste around here. Kind of bluish color to my cake from the charcoal. Interesting. 18. Silk vanilla is a bomb. That might be what it is, uh, Travis. And they got a commercial on about it, and I was like, well, I don't think I'm lactose intolerant. I would have known by now. I think I eat way too much cheese, as they tell me, but I'm sorry. There are a lot of things I don't eat. I don't eat crackling. I don't eat bacon and a lot of fried, greasy stuff. I bake things. I make things in stews. I say I'm careful with my diet. I don't eat a lot of junk foods. I do like my tater chips, and I do like my little Fig Newton things. And I will get a half gallon of ice cream. 1 minute. And but you know, I eat my veggies as much as I can, and mushrooms and sauces and things. But the way I used to eat with all kinds of other crap and eating out all the time and God know and fast foods and stuff like that. I can't remember the last time I went had a fast food. 420, smoke if you got them. But one of the things I got to do when I go into town is I got to get some more seeds from the local farmer's seed place. And there was I wish I could remember the name, but I used to buy it all the time from the dollar store, and I haven't been able to get to the dollar store in a while. But there is a type of milk. Um, it's homogenized, not pasteurized, or it's pasteurized and not. It's the old way, and they put milk in a carton, and it doesn't need to be refrigerated. And I've had that stuff under the counter. And if I run out of fresh milk, I just reach underneath there and get me one of them, quart containers. And then you had once you opened it, then you had to put it in the refrigerator. But the milk tasted good. It tasted like a whole milk, and it was someplace I think out in Colorado or some place out west that grew these cows and made this milk and put it in these containers, cartons even is wax instead of plastic, which is the old way. But I haven't been to the dollar store in a while, and I had collected up. They had vanilla kinds and this and whatever, but for $1 a bottle or for $1 a container, four of them made a gallon. That's $4 a gallon. But you didn't need a refrigerator, so it's like now that's interesting, you know. So there are ways to do stuff. One more time, and then I'm out of here, guys, gals. Yum yum. Yum yum, eat 'em up. It's an old Little Rascals. If you know what I'm talking about, yum yum, eat 'em up. Michelle's gone. I'll have to ask her later if she knows what I mean by that. But Travis, Brick, everybody, it's been fun. I was bored. I woke up in the middle of the night with nothing to do, so I know I'd come out here and chat with you. Ain't that sad? On my part, that I could blame it on you. Well, there's people out there that needed to have a chat tonight. I just thought I'd show up. Anyway, okay. I continue to pray, and I do, being on the serious side. I do continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe that are all around us and always there. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. And in that law of three, which is special to me, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept, receive, and to share that knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. So thank you, my friends, Elderberry, Travis, and I know there's a couple folks lurking in the background. Love you much. Cheers, everybody. And stay warm, stay as healthy as you can. And remember, there's always a way out of something if you like, if you look. It may not be readily available to you in your short term, but in the long term plan, there's always a way out. So I love you. Till next time, be safe. TTFN. Cheers, everybody.